Smooth sound slider added. I don't know what that means. Okay, new phone, hopefully better quality video. So we are working on popcorn ceilings. If anybody has popcorn ceilings, you feel my pain. We've done the kitchen. Turned out okay. There's some blemishes. We've done a few rooms, and yes, it's a pain in the ass. So what we did is, in Googling videos, YouTubing videos, we found that a guy says, hey, forget that noise. Just go ahead and put up new drywall. So the popcorn's underneath it, and I wish I would have, you can see the popcorn's up underneath. And we just put this shit over it. So, tips. Don't do what I did. I was all excited. I'm like, man, if I do this smartly, you measured out it was 16 foot 3 inches, which means I couldn't do two 8-foot pieces. I had to go to a 10 or a 12 foot and cut them. Sorry, I'm pointing and talking at the same time. So this was an 8-foot section. That needed to be 8.3, so I needed a longer piece of sheetrock. But you don't, obviously you don't want a 3-inch gap at the end that you have to fix. So either way, do it smartly. Now what you should have done, you being me, myself, and I should have done this like brickwork. Instead of having a seam here, what I should have done is cut one in half and put a seam here, put a full section here, and then had another seam. So you know, like bricks are stacked opposite, and then you put the next row on the seam. So that's going to help the aesthetics. Now I'm going to have this repair right down the center. But you know, good drywall guy or girl can definitely hide those problems. Now left and right, you don't really have an issue. You're going to have to abut those up. But basically it was 6 pieces of sheetrock. Do the math, 20, 25 bucks a sheet. Not too bad, 150 bucks for this. Now, a couple reasons why they popcorn. One, it was a look back in the late 1960s. Two, there are a lot of imperfections underneath this repair. Now, if they put the popcorn on top of paint, it's going to be really, really hard to pull off. So if you've already done a room in your house, that's probably a good indicator as to whether or not they pre-painted. If so, this is going to be the way to go. Now, sometimes popcorn's pretty easy. You just got to wet it. Sometimes there are products, chemicals and stuff you can spray, but the more water, the longer you let it sit, the more you can scrape that off. I chose to try this, and so far I'm pretty pleased. This took us, I would say, beginning to finish, about maybe 3 hours. All right. But yeah, there was prep work. I had to go to the store. I had to get the material here. You got to do a little bit of cutting. You got to think smartly and do it. But either way, I would definitely do this again. Now the problem is finishing this. So what I did and what I didn't show you is I've got the drywall compound, right? Before you put this stuff in, I actually put globs of drywall mud up underneath it. So about every other foot, I put a couple globs, and it acts like glue. So when you turn this stuff over and you stick it up, that stuff is going to adhere and dry and help give it some sticking power, right? Mark your studs, your joists, your floor joists. You can see I've got marks on the wall every 16 inches or 12 inches, whatever your configuration is, whether you're load bearing or not. So you want to put those, and you can see, well, that's a bad example. That was my first one. We Swiss cheese that. But you can see my marks. You can see my joist. Can I zoom in on that? See my joist marks there? And there's my screw centered. And then, once you get around to the other side, it's helpful to go ahead and draw your marks. But if you have the screw heads, you can always follow the screw heads down, right? And the house is trash. We had to move all the furniture out of here. So either way, that was a really useful tool. And then also your cut ends. So these were all factory 8-foot pieces, right? So clean ends all the way around. This is a clean end. When you're cutting, so these were 10 or 12, they were actually 12. They didn't have 10-foot sections at the Lowe's or Home Depot that I went to. So I wanted to make sure when I cut the cut ends up against the wall, right? So I'm going to put crown molding up. It's going to hide that. So I've got a nice factory to factory seam here in the center. Wait a minute, did I put the wrong end here? I did. Shit, I wasn't supposed to do that. Well, anyway, that's all right. Again, our guys will fix it. But the butt ends aren't that big of a deal because you can see they're pretty smooth end to end. But these ends, it's pretty important because there's a little depression there that allows you to, well, you drywall folks. That way you can run your mud across and go end to end and cover up those imperfections. Now, one other thing that I failed to do, and you can see I've got a 16-inch gap here, floor joist, right? You see my seam? So I don't have screws on the ends, right? You always want screws on the ends. So what I should have done is I should have found this stud, this joist, and I should have terminated my cut here. All right, so you always want to be mindful of those. I was all excited because I almost fit 2 8-foot pieces, and I was just going to have them join in the middle. I had a buddy look at this. He goes, yeah, you can get away with it. Over time, it could crack. But what they might do, they might cut this out. They might cut that seam and put in their tape and mud that up. But ideally, we would have found a stud on that and screwed right through it. Now, with that mud that I put up underneath, I did make sure that I put extra hockey puck kind of pieces up underneath it, so that acts like glue. Hopefully that'll hold that stuff. He said, yeah, if you did that, it should be okay. But anyway, I just wanted to share this. If you're considering doing this, a lot less work. Now, as far as finishing this, yes, you can paint directly on the drywall, which means you don't have to skim coat, you don't have to do all the press, but you do need a primer. So you got to put primer down, and obviously you've got to mud all your joints, you got to mud all your screw heads. So, you know, there's still a lot of work to be done in here, but overall, as far as scraping, look at the mess we made. And you guys know what I'm talking about. This isn't bad at all. You know, some sheetrock chunks from the cutting with the razor blade, but overall this was, and I didn't have to tape. I didn't have to go through all that mess. And yeah, it is a mess. So anyway, overall, I'm excited about doing this again sometime. We don't have central lighting. We would in here. So with that in mind, you'd have to pull down, probably take your fan blades off. Obviously, you'd have to pull down your cover. And that way, when you start getting around there, and that might be how you structure your seams too. So you might want to make sure that you butt up. There's obviously going to be a joist or support bracket there holding in your electrical and a fan. So you, instead of putting a solid piece around that and cutting a hole, obviously you're going to join the butt end of your sheetrock pieces there. So anyway, just food for thought. But overall, I think this is a good approach, and we're excited about it. And also, the other thing, the reason we're doing popcorn, and this is a good example, you can see it's kind of dim. You've got a little bit of light coming in from outside. It allows for shadows. It doesn't help reflect the light, cast the light. So it makes it dimmer inside. But you can see already we're starting to get more light in here already, just off of the gloss with the drywall. So we'll put a nice bright white on it after a primer, a couple coats, and be good to go. Should really be a nice facelift. Now, here's the next thing. Flash forward. Once we get this in, I'm planning to do it's a crown molding, and it actually mounts about 2 or 3 inches below the corner. I know what you're thinking. It's like, well, that's not really crown molding, so it is decorative. But it has a channel in the back of it. That channel, you can put lighting, and it's indirect lighting. So that lighting, if we want to choose it, because I've been trying to figure out, do I do pocket lights? I have to run wiring, I have to do all this stuff. And I was at a hotel a couple of weeks ago, and they had this indirect lighting. You turn on the TV to all these home improvement things. They're getting into this indirect lighting. And I'm sure there are different, like little, maybe 4-foot plants that you could put maybe one over here, one over there, and just run them into the electrical with a remote. But I've seen this stuff that goes all the way around the room. That channel, you can put whatever LED source light in there, and tie it into a remote control. And I think that's what we're going to do. So I'm pretty stoked about that. This is just step one. But if and when I get around to that lighting, I'm pretty excited about it, because it'll definitely improve the look and the upgrade in here. So anyway, hope this helps. Questions, comments, JT Fix It, and check us out on 2DogsNC Fishing _kick on the Kick app. We do that usually once a week in season, typically on Fridays, but there are a lot of videos in there. But anyway, good luck. Hope this helps.